Well, anything you guys want to talk about?
Perhaps healthy selfishness.
Okay. Healthy selfishness. Kendra?
We're talking about the stages from attraction and what causes somebody to move
On.
to the next stage.
Oh, to the next stage. Okay. Anyone else? Jalua?
Robert?
We never got to talk about horizontal, vertical, of like how to kind of live diagonally.
Okay. Well, it's related to selfishness and attraction, and we'll hopefully talk about that. Michael?
Probably about how, I don't know, it was a question I was thinking about yesterday to ask, but come back to me with it.
Okay. Is there a girlfriend? Boyfriend? Well, these days, you have to be politically correct. Wolf, anything before we ramble on for an hour? Hello.
Do you have to be politically correct?
No, I rarely am. It's just sometimes you run into people who have glitches, viruses, that their software just kind of shuts down. Allahu Akbar. Their software just shuts down and so they begin to waste my time. It's not so much about being politically correct, it's about not having my time wasted. I mean, if you're going to have issues because I call you a he instead of a she, and you're only 20, you got another 70 years to go. If you can't deal with this tiny thing, you'll be in therapy for the rest of your life. And you're going to be useless to yourself and other people. So, I'm not politically correct because of you, just for me. Yeah.
You just reminded me of a question. So I heard an article about people being transabled.
Yeah,
And I was just wondering I'm not saying, well, I don't know if I can say it's bad or not, but I just want to kind of know the thought process of people when they do stuff.
When you're on the outside, having conversation is easy. It's like, let's talk about Israel and Palestine. And you can be articulate, you can be Noam Chomsky. Good morning, Noor. When you're on the inside, the story is very, very different. As a parent, I wouldn't know what to tell you if my child was to come home and say, Dad, I'm gay, or Dad, I'm trans, or Dad, I'm fluid, or Dad, I'm pan, or Dad, I'm plate. I wouldn't know what to tell you, how I would react. I have to deal with cultural issues, religious issues, parental issues, communal issues. There are too many things to consider. And right now, my kids are safe, so some of the emotions that would be born inside me should my child come to me 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years from now and say, I think my entire life has been a lie, I think I'm pan. Well, hopefully by then I'll have dementia, I'll be dead, or I wouldn't be able to hear anything, so it wouldn't bother me. But if they would come to me now and say, it's going to be a brand new experience, and my philosophical position, for the most part being abstract, would go out the window. And, because when you have a child as a parent, You become very future oriented. What school should they go to? Who should they marry? When am I going to be a grandparent? Are they going to have a job? What major are they going to study? So it's always about the future. And you create this narrative inside your head. And like anything else, you're driving on the highway and you want to take exit so-and-so, and all of a sudden you see cones and it says detour. That's a headache for you. And for parents, very much the same. You have all these narratives inside your head as to how your child hopefully will turn out to be. But this is what all parents experience at different stages. You see red cones everywhere. One day they come home and say, I'm dropping out of school. Well, what the hell do you do now as a father? Do you reason with them? Do you hit them? Do you pack their stuff and say, get out? And so I guess the point I'm trying to make is when you're on the outside, talking about things is very, very, very easy. And it's to some extent very arrogant for you to do so. And you need to have a great amount of self-knowledge. You need to know your limits. You need to know where you stand, in the grand scheme of things. And only talk about things or be interested in things that just are right there in front of you. So I'll let you know. Keep in touch with me the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years. And should my child come home telling me that they are a particular gender, I'll let you know what sort of emotions now live inside me. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, vertical, horizontal. So let's do this. Let's start with attraction that leads into a particular self. And then let's talk about a self that is vertical and then horizontal, or horizontal and then turns vertical.
Kind of staircase.
Yeah. And maybe we can talk a little bit about pessimism. Your question from yesterday. Lewis, you have nice hair. There was a movie with Ben Kingsley and Penelope Cruz. It's called Elegy. Any of you seen it? You guys just don't watch good movies, do you? So Elegy it's about a professor who's teaching, I think, an English class. He's about 125 years old. Abi, good morning. How are you? How's Bodhi? How's that person at CSU San Francisco?
Yeah, she's well.
Okay. And so he's standing in front of the classroom and he's talking, and there is, of course, the young and very attractive Miss Cruz. She's like 25. He's like 60. He's talking about literature, and she's just taking notes. And at a certain point, he looks at her and says, "Don't take any notes." She finds herself attracted to this man. Now, it doesn't make sense. I mean, biologically speaking, you see a man who is 60, he's all wrinkled up. He has maybe another 2-3 good years before it's his Kaiser time. Every day Kaiser, and you have to wake up 50 times to use the restroom. And you can hardly walk because of your knees and your back. And so it's not a rational thing. For those of you in this class who have seen the new image of Jesus Christ by anthropologists and what do you say? Sociologists. Look at this image of this man that was created about maybe 5-10 years ago. I mean, he is an ugly human being. Let me put it in a more politically correct way. He is a very unattractive man who looks like an 18-wheeler. He's very, very ugly. And then you have to sit back and ask, we are visual animals. In other words, when you go to a party and you see a person out there that just doesn't please your eyes, you kind of just say yuck and you look away. It's natural, it's organic. And yet, you have to ask yourself, if this image of Jesus is accurate, why would people follow him? What is it about this particular person with that particular image that has the power to elevate the human being so that they can transcend their visual senses, that they no longer depend on their eyes to make a judgment, that there is something profoundly charismatic, magnetic, profound about Jesus, that for some strange reason, people have eyes, those eyes see, but they're not seeing his face because his face will force you to puke. So you have in this movie this man who is 60 or 70 or 80. He's near the end of his life. And you have this woman who is 20, 25. She's beginning her life. And she finds herself attracted to this man. It can be because he's old and near death. It can be because she loves wrinkles. Maybe she has a dicey past, and maybe he represents an anchor she never had, a foundation that's stable, that's mature, that she assumes that she can depend on this man for whatever the reasons are. But it's in its infancy. It's just a simple attraction. Now, the problem with attraction is it's an inspired moment. You come to this class, we talk about some ridiculous, stupid things, and you find yourself attracted. Well, this class is going to end in an hour, and you have an entire day waiting for you. There are going to be countless forces coming your way, and all the components out there are looking for one thing. They're looking to occupy a certain space inside you. Physical space, intellectual space, emotional space. And then you have all these forces competing against each other. Okay, let's say you look at me and you find me attractive. Okay, fine. And then you go out, you find a 20-year-old attractive. Then you go somewhere else and you find a 30-year-old attractive. And what you have is three different people. Now this is in your imagination, and it's filled with emotions. And a little bit of reflection, just a little bit. Because we're not reflective animals. You're first emotional, and then we try to justify the emotions through reason, thought process, rationality, information, whatever. And so what you will find is, let's say you begin to calculate, well, I can't really be attracted to a 60-year-old man. And this is all going on inside your head. Because, yes, he's mature, but he's got like another couple years to live and then he'll die. What am I going to do? Well, I can be attracted to a 40-year-old man because I just see him drinking and smoking all the time. How about the 25-year-old? And you become a very political animal. You're very engaged politically because you're looking at pros and cons, what benefits you, what harms you. And these are things that take place behind the scenes. You're not really quite aware of all these forces and the competition and the cunningness that all these images bring with themselves. And the more you begin to entertain one or two or three of these forces living inside you and slowly growing, eventually the competition will be between two forces. It's like Andrew or me. Okay. Now you say, well, I can't really like my professor. That's like politically incorrect. I should. And plus he's 60. Andrew, on the other hand, look at him. He's got a full head of hair. He's young, attractive. I'll do him. I mean, go out with him. I'm sorry, that wasn't accidental. It was intentional. So as you begin to entertain the seed of attraction, you feed anything, it just grows. Leo Buscaglia he was called the professor of love. I think he taught at USC for a number of years. And I don't really like him. He's a man filled with bumper stickers that makes you feel good. But as bumper stickers go, he's got some good bumper stickers out there that, love dies because simply it's overlooked. It's dismissed. It doesn't get nourished. Okay. Now, in your case, let's just say you're attracted to something, and an attraction is a moment of inspiration. And as you keep thinking about it and feeling about it and creating stories about it and comparing and contrasting this story with all the stories that live inside you, it gains momentum. And then attraction becomes a thing of curiosity. Why do I feel this way? Why did he say that? Why is he looking at me this way? Why do I want to go back to the class even if I'm not enrolled? And it could even be negative. He is so much older than I am. He made fun of me. He belittled me. He embarrassed me. Despite all these negative emotions that you may have, you feel compelled, inspired to go back to the class, or you're inspired to keep thinking and imagining and making stories. And the more story you make, the more history you make with that particular image. And the more history you make, you get more emotionally entangled, and then you get more intellectually entangled. And then out of curiosity, that's the next stage. First you're attracted, then you become curious. You ask a lot of questions as to why you're attracted. And then the inspiration moves, it grows a little bit, and you're now interested. So you go home and you Google his name, to see where he's been, how much time he's served, San Quentin or Folsom. Does he play music? His history online. And then there comes moments where you catch yourself saying, what the hell am I doing? I've spent like 5 hours Googling Andrew. Why? I don't know him from Adam, and yet for some strange reason he's wasted my time, 5 hours of my time. But unbeknownst to you, as you keep entertaining the images that live inside you, the emotions grow, the history grow, the stories grow, attachments grow. And then you find yourself infatuated. And there is something really interesting about infatuation. There are all these men in this classroom, and for some strange reason, none of them can find a way to you. You just are not interested in any of them. You're not attracted to them. And even if you are attracted, you don't really spend too much time entertaining that particular attraction. For some strange reason, without you really knowing, you become monogamous. Not physically, just emotionally. And you feel as if you were to look at another human being in a romantic way, let's just say, it's like you're betraying him or her. And so the moment you see someone attractive, like Louis's hair, you kind of avert your eyes and no, I can't do that. I am committed to Andrew. Now, Andrew doesn't even know you exist. Okay? Now, here's the thing about infatuation. Because it is so intensely emotional, a tiny seed grows next to the seed of attraction, and that's called need. When you're curious, it's not really need, you're just curious. You just go somewhere, you do whatever it is, needing information or wanting information, you find the information, then you walk away. Interest is very much the same. That you're not yet emotionally entangled, but the moment you become infatuated, it's now founded, anchored in this thing called need. And need is emotionally intense. Something deep within you needs to be satisfied. And it's not books, and it's not information. You need to be in the presence of Andrew. Now, if you were to ask why, I wouldn't be able to tell you. And then if you're not careful, now remember, there are still doors out there. All you gotta do is push, step out, and you're free from the entanglement. If you drop the class or stop coming to class for about 2-3 weeks, other life forces will enter into you. You will begin to entertain them. And the image of Andrew will have less of a grip over you. And then you'll come to class, you look at him, He'll bring about some emotions, but they're not going to be as intense. Now, to the point of interest, you can slowly walk away and you won't get hurt too much. Infatuation, you can still walk away, but there's going to be some sadness, deep longing, deep yearning, because he's created longing inside you and he's the only one who can satisfy it. But by the time I think you get to infatuation, you've also created this habit of keep thinking about this man. And as you're habituated in this particular cradle of Andrew, all of a sudden you find yourself obsessed. Now, you may have a boyfriend, you might have a girlfriend, and once in a while as you're sitting and having a conversation, and let's just say your boyfriend's name is Joe, and mistakenly you say, Andrew, and Joe looks at you and says, who's Andrew? Oh, nothing, I was reading James Joyce today, and in his writing he was saying Andrew, so I was reading the Gospels. For those of you who may not know who James Joyce is, And so, oh, okay, so you're going to be Christian? Is that why you're reading? Now, the problem with obsession is that it's anchored in need, and it's just 100-fold more stronger, more powerful. It occupies a good amount of space inside you. If I was to put this on the board, I would say the following. Here you are, you're not really invested in anything. So life goes this way. All of a sudden, there is an attraction, and this attraction occupies 10% of your psyche. This is attraction. So then you move to the curiosity stage, and now you have 20% of the object of attraction inside you. So this occupies 20% of you, but you have 80% of yourself reserved for all the other things in life, okay? Then you nourish, and these are all seeds that you nourish. If you nourish and protect them, make sure nothing, walks into your life to trample on them, to break them, demolish them. And when it gets to the point of interest, now let's just say you have 30% of this thing occupying you. Now 30% is a good amount of percentage inside you, but you can still walk away. As you begin to spend more imaginations, more emotions, more reflection, more futuristic stories, what happens when I hold his hand, what happens when we go out and have coffee, these are all stories that you and I create. Once you move into obsession, now it occupies 60% of you, and that's a good chunk of anything living inside you, and it's very difficult to get rid of this. Okay? Because you have only one thing occupying more than half of the space that lives inside you. And you will only allow 40% for life. And life is big, but for you, it's small. Okay? And obsession is need. Now, one of the things about need is that now you have this brand new desire inside you. The desire here was one of attraction. The desire here was one of curiosity. The desire here was one of interest. But this is profoundly intense because now you're infatuated. Now, the way desire works is that you desire because you don't have. And when you're infatuated, this is your promised land. You want to have. Okay? And because you don't have and you want to have, what you have is a good amount of longing. How do you satisfy this? You need to become a political animal. I like to sleep. I don't want to go to class. But if I wake up at 10 and realize the class is over, I'm going to hate myself. So you begin to have all these calculations inside your head. Okay? Now, it also depends what it is that you're infatuated over. If, for example, you want to smoke weed, well, you go somewhere, anywhere in Oakland, ask anyone who's passing you by, do you have a bucket on you? So yeah, here. Okay. So if there is a thing out there that can be satisfied easily, it means that Your longing will either take 1 hour, 5 hours, 10 days, or 5 years. Okay? The longer you have to wait, the more patient you have to be, the deeper the roots go inside you. Which means that if you have to wait for 5 years, let's just say, to understand what philosophy is, let's just say, okay? What happens when you get to this promised land, and now you know what philosophy is, you don't just say, I went to school and I studied philosophy. You say, I am a philosopher. The roots are deep inside me. Okay? Now, if you're not careful, infatuation turns into obsession. Now you have about 80% of the object of attraction living inside you. And it's miserable. Because you don't yet have it. And for some strange reason, even if you have it, you want more of it. You become greedy. Looks good. And then one morning you wake up and it's love. And now it occupies 100%. There is no space for anything else. Everywhere you go, there is this Persian poet by the name of Baba Tahir. He has this به دریا بنگرم دریا توینم به صحرا بنگرم صحرا توینم به هر جا بنگرم کوه و در و دشت نشون قامت رعنا توینم. I look to my left, I see you. I look to my right, I see you. I look up, I see you. I look down, I see you. It matters very little where I go. Everywhere I go, I see you. There comes a point that inwardly and outwardly, all you want to do and all you want to be is you want to be around the object of attraction, the thing that you're fallen in love with. You're going to have expectations. And, you know, for those of you in this class who like to read junk, like Buddhism, Hinduism, if you like to watch some of these new age gurus who will tell you, do not be attached, it doesn't work. Okay? It doesn't work because it's not natural. It doesn't work because that's not who we are. The moment you become obsessed with something, the moment you fall in love with something, you expect. You come to this class with the expectation of raising your hand and me asking, what's your question? Okay. And just in case, unless you happen to be so mature that you realize, I've asked plenty of questions in my lifetime, I've received answers, they really don't do much. I've asked questions, those questions don't do much, maybe I should just keep my mouth shut. Unless you're profoundly mature, then yes, you kind of be not as attached. But for the most part, we are attached creatures. You know, we create history with things. We are not sufficient unto ourselves. Now, the next, I suppose, question would be, and remember, this is an awful place to be. I don't recommend this to anyone, especially if you're young. Even though it gives us wings and we fly high, it's not meant to last. Now, the object of attraction does something very interesting. It creates a self. That you're interested, let's just say, in taking all these different classes, but you take a sociology class and all of a sudden, something about you jumps out and says, yes, I like ideas. I like society. I like politics. I like the concept of justice and fairness. Black lives matter. Yellow life matter. Brown life matter. I like things that matter. And should this particular self that has been generated by, say, a sociology class and protected and nourished by a sociology class, should this seed remain protected, what you'll do is you'll go to a 4-year school, and when someone asks, what are you majoring in? Sociology. then if your passion for the sociological ideas are very, very intense and powerful and strong and intimate, you say, I want to do my master's. In what? Sociology. And there may come a point where you may decide to do your PhD. You have a job there, but you realize it doesn't really nourish you, satisfy you, so you say, I want to do my PhD. In what? Sociology. And then again, after like 5 or 6 or 10 years, I don't know, I'm going to school, you finish it up, and your mom asks, so what are you going to do? I want to teach. What are you going to teach? Sociology. And you realize that something that was created, the seed that was created inside you at the age of 20, philosophy, religion, sociology, history, it doesn't really matter what the seed is. It remained protected and remained nourished until it blossomed to the point now you're a doctorate in that particular branch of knowledge. And your mom asks you, what do you want to do? You say, I want to teach. And you realize it's a relationship you don't want to divorce. Now that is a good self to have. And I suppose the point I'm trying to make for those of you in this class who are questing after a self, like who am I? What am I? Well, the question is, who has created you? What experiences have you had in life that has generated a certain set of emotions, a certain set of reflections connected to those specific emotions? And how have they been protected? How have they been nourished? For those of you who may not know, this is Kendra. Kendra, like most of the other students who you have seen coming to class and just sitting, she took a class from me when she was, 10. For whatever the reasons were, she found herself attracted. But this is the thing you need to understand. You're not going to be attracted to ideas. You're going to be attracted to the person who's conveying the ideas. You don't fall in love with history. You fall in love with your history teacher. You don't fall in love with philosophy. You fall in love with Socrates. You don't fall in love with black history. You fall in love with Malcolm X. And from Malcolm X, you become interested in the wider aspect of black history or Persian history. You become interested in Ayn Rand, and then you become interested in feminism. Okay? Now, Kendra is young. The world is a stage filled with entertainments. For some awful reasons, she says, maybe I should go back and just sit. Even though the class is over, I can just sit in the next class. And so she did. Semester is over. She signs up for 5 classes. She's on campus from 7 in the morning until 7 at night. And then, when there is no class, she hangs out with people who come to class on a regular basis. They have food together, coffee together, they hang out together. And what do they talk about? Philosophy. What kind of philosophy? Amir Sabzavari philosophy. So I become the hub that connects all these people together. Then at a certain point I ask her, so what do you want to do? I think I want to do humanities. Why? I want to teach. Why? I like what you do. And then she finishes her degrees. And then you ask her, what are you going to do now? I think I'm going to take a year off. No, you're not going to take a year off. You're going to continue. You're going to get your master's. And then you're going to start teaching. And now she teaches. A tiny little seed, protected at Laney College, Laney students, her own imaginations, and now at the age of 30, she teaches at San Francisco State University. A simple attraction. She now has a love affair with ideas.